Okay, good morning, Coldwell Banker George Realty. Thank you for attending this training. So today we're having an open forum. We're going to discuss some how to address tenants when you're screening them on behalf of the property owner. And I'll address a couple of things that are coming up in one of the new laws coming up in July. And then Peter will take it away on interviewing and screening tenants for the property owner. So I'm going to do a share screen and we'll get started. So we get a lot of questions on how does the statewide rent cap work? We have a disclosure on that. So the rent can go up annually, not more than once a year, 5% plus consumer product index, which is CPI for that city. So if it applies to most rental units that were built over 15 years ago. So for instance, if the CPI showed a 4% inflation in your city, plus the 5%, the maximum that the owner could raise would be 9% for that residential unit. So that's how the rent cap works. We also provide the tenants with a CAR form on that, because I get questions on that. So we wanted to address that. And we just wanted to remind you also that the residential security deposits effective July 1st of this year are going to change. So the property owner can collect no more than 1 month's rent for either furnished or unfurnished units. In addition to, they're going to come in with the first month's rent as well. So there's an exception for any property owner who is defined as a small property owner, small unit property owner who is a natural person or an LLC and owns no more than two residential rental properties with no more than 4 units on those properties. So that is the exception to this rule. This new security deposit begins on July 1st, and it prohibits a property owner from demanding or receiving security, more than 1 month security deposit on a residential unit. Now, there is an exception if the lease has been in effect and let's say they collected 2 months prior to July 1st, they can keep that deposit, but going forward from July 1st on, the law will change. This is Assembly Bill number 12, if you want to look it up online, to 1 month, unless you're a small, considered a small property owner landlord, then it'll offer, you can do 2 months. I think most of the property owners may fall into the 1 month though. So that's just for your knowledge. If you want to call around to property owners and mention that this new law or whatever, or send them a postcard on it, that's a good way to prospect. So the thrust of this meeting really is interviewing prospective tenants for the property owner, what not to say, what to say. So there's income-based questions such as Section 8, unemployment used as income. So this portion, Peter is going to present on so that we all learn how to interview the tenant properly for the property owner.
Before I go into the Section 8 and discrimination issues, I want to just add on to Michelle's, the comments on the statewide rental control. That is the AB. Was it? We don't have the.
Oh, I didn't put the Assembly Bill.
Yeah, but I think it's 1482 or something like that. But anyway, the statewide rent control is for applies to the state or only, and there are local ordinances for each city or county that have additional rent control ordinances, and the most restrictive one applies. So in other words, if you have like, for example, for LA City, they have a much more stringent requirements on the rent control. So even though that the statewide control is like 5% plus whatever the CPI increase is, but if they have if LA City has a much more stringent requirement, then the LA City ordinance will apply, and you have no choice about that. Okay, so be careful when you advise your client. You have to call the city and find out if there are any local ordinances, the county or the city, and also for the security deposit law, which is effective July 1st, 2024. There's the small landlord exception applies to most of the circumstances, but if you belong to military personnel, that doesn't apply to you. So that is one of the exceptions there. So I just want to comment that before I move on to the Section 8, Michelle.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Now, a lot of questions on Section 8, and recently again from the agent. And as a matter of fact, we had a little incidents in Quebec, George, where we received a complaint from the Civil Rights Department claiming that one of our agents violate the discrimination law based on the source of income. For example, the Section 8, which means that the Section 8 is a special governmental program that subsidizes the rent for the tenants. And when that happens, and there are special rules and regulations about that, and the landlord has to abide strictly on that. Otherwise, you'll be guilty of discrimination against the tenant based on the source of income. When you see such a tenant coming in to apply for the rent, the first thing you have to do is to ask them whether they have a voucher, from the government subsidized. And if they do, then they have tell them to they have some forms that the landlord has to fill out. And after you fill out the form, you give it back to them, and then they give it back to the Section 8 people, and then they will start, and then the Section 8 people will send the contractor to come into your property and inspect the property. There are special requirements for the Section 8 people. They will make sure that the premises are totally habitable, and there is no deferred maintenance. Make sure that it fits to the requirement of the Section 8 rules and regulations. And that procedure can take a long time, so that's one of the reasons why the landlord does not like the Section 8 renters, because the governmental people, they are not in a hurry to do the job. A lot of time they delay 1 month, 2 months, and even up to 3 months. And then during that time, you have to wait until they have done their investigations or examinations. So during this time, the landlord doesn't have any income for that property. So and also there are some requirements during the tenancy. If the tenants if the tenants thinks that there is deferred maintenance, they can go to the Section 8 as a and also go to the HUD, which is the Housing and Urban Development Department, and complain. And if they have to complain, then you know, normally they'll send an investigation team to your premises and investigate. And you have to make sure that those deficiencies are corrected. Otherwise, they will withhold the payment of the rent.
Young ladies, we want to talk to them about how the rest is.
Catherine, can you mute yourself, please? I'm sorry. And okay, so it's just a lot of protocols for Section 8, and then every year, they normally routinely they will have audit. In other words, they will come into the property and look at whether everything is proper and make sure that there are no deferred maintenance. If there are deferred maintenance, they will require the landlord to correct it in a very strict time frame. So that's why a lot of the landlords are under pressure with the Section 8. That's why they don't like Section 8 renters. But the law is very strict. The law is very clear, and then you just cannot discriminate against the Section 8 renters. When they come in, you just have to treat them as a normal, regular tenant, and you have to do you have to be careful too, because once you don't need to have an intent to discriminate against that. But if you have some activity or some kind of behavior that infer the discrimination of the Section 8, then they can complain to the governmental agency, and then you'll have a lot of trouble defending yourself. Okay, so now when the Section 8, the renter comes in, the landlord has a duty to inform them that that they don't have to show the FICO score, because that's the new law with the Section 8 recently saying that you cannot, if the tenant is receiving Section 8 subsidized, the landlord cannot consider tenant's FICO score. Now, then you, being a landlord, you have the duty to inform them that the tenant has the right and to not to provide you with a FICO score, because they, most of the time the FICO score for the Section 8 is pretty low, so that is why they require the landlord not to find out the FICO score and consider their eligibility according to the FICO score. The tenant can also demand, in case that the landlord asks them for the FICO score, the tenant has the right not to give it to them. And if the landlord insists to have the FICO score, they are in violation of the law prohibiting that such an activities. Okay, let's see. Now, and also, and also, if you are receiving the Section 8 subsidized, you have to give the landlord all the documents and fill out the documents and give the landlord the vouchers in order to be qualified. And if you don't give the landlord the vouchers, then the landlord has the right to refuse the tenancy, because the landlord has the right to make sure that you have the ability to pay for the rent. So and lastly, when you are when you are you try to evict the Section 8 tenants, there's some procedure that you really have to follow closely. First of all, you have to give the notice of termination to the tenant and telling them what is the reason why you want to evict them. Secondly, you have to give the notice to the housing authority and telling them the reason why you want to evict the tenant. Once that the housing authority got the notice, they will probably launch investigation into the matter and find out exactly whether your reason to evict the tenants is proper. And most of the time that the housing authority involvement takes a long time, because they are not in a hurry to really give you a timely resolution of the matter. Most of the time they will just gather information and make sure that the tenants are well protected, so that the eviction process for Section 8 is more problematic than the regular evictions. And then even during the investigation, the Section 8 authorities will try to find a way to resolve it amicably instead of going to eviction, and that will take up some time as well. Well, if that cannot be resolved, then they finally go into the eviction proceeding, and sometimes the judge will kind of sympathize on the Section 8 people also, and if you don't have a compelling reason to evict the tenant, your eviction may fail as well. So after the court decision, and based on the evidence presented, then the case will be either whether you prevail or the tenants prevail, and whether you need to give the tenants some kind of remedy for being evicted out of the house. So okay. So in conclusion, now when you have Section 8 tenants, what do you do? How do you handle them? First thing you have to tell the tenants is that all the tenants are treated equally the same, and all the tenants are screened based on the ability to pay. It's better not to inquire anything further than the ability to pay. In other words, you cannot find out where you get the money from, and how much you get from each sources, and things like that. It's forbidden to ask those questions. And also you tell the tenants that only the landlord can make the final decision. You, being the agents, will not make the decision for the landlord. And also you tell the Section 8 tenants that there are other tenants to be considered, and if there are two tenants that have the same qualification, the first come, first serve. In other words, if they come in to apply, if you are equally qualified, you take the one that first applied. And then you don't tell them much, other than what you have to say to them. You try to say as little as possible, and also try not to use text messages to convey your to communicate, because the text message a lot of times is more sloppy, and sometimes you didn't think that there's sometimes a lot of ambiguity in the text, because you're trying to simplify your sentence. So it's not a good way to communicate through text. If you really have to communicate in written language, use the email. Because email, you put more thought into it. You have more complete sentences, and then you have the record of what you're saying, and you have the the link of those emails so that you can have the pretext of what you really are trying to say, and then don't make decision on behalf of the landlord. That's a very important thing, that because if you make the decision for the landlord and the landlord doesn't even know about it, then when it comes to present the evidence, you're surely going to lose. That's what happened to our discrimination case recently. The agent make a detrimental mistake saying that the landlord denied the application, but in fact the landlord never knew about the incidents, so that's a no-no. You have to, as an agent, you have the duty to report everything to the landlord and let the landlord decide, and also document their decision. But you don't, when you convey the decision of the landlord, you don't have to tell them everything that the landlord consider. You just tell them that the landlord make a decision as to who to rent it to, and that's the end of it. Okay, so make it very simple and don't elaborate too much. The less you say, the better. Okay, and so that concludes my presentation on the Section 8. Then now, so we open the forum to everybody to share. Do you have any questions, or you like to share anything about your own experience? This is time to do so.
Okay, we have a question in the room.
So
Yeah.
So in case of a termination, what would be your compelling reason? What would be, because Section 8, Hawthorne makes the payments on behalf of the tenant. So what would be a compelling reason that they're?
I cannot hear the.
She said, since Section 8 makes the payments on behalf of the tenant, what would be a compelling reason of why a property owner would be evicting them? What would be the compelling reason to
Okay.
cause that?
Now, sometimes the Section 8 does not pay the whole amount. They pay only partial amount. And if the tenant doesn't pay the rest of it, then it's a compelling reason why the landlord can evict them. Or if they are conducting some illegal activity at the premises, that's all another compelling reason.
Peter, could it also be that they moved an additional adult in that wasn't on the lease?
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you're welcome. Are there any other questions for Peter?
This is Carol. I do have a
Okay.
question regarding the
Carol.
time frame. If you have two applicants, one is Section 8, one is not. And then I know the Section 8, they do have to wait on the government to come to the inspection. In the meantime, you do all your due diligence and the other applicant fit the bill. So you're not under obligation to wait for the Section 8 to complete their inspection and all that before you make the final decision?
Well, it depends on the situation. If the only reason why you want to consider is whether the government, the Section 8 people, I mean Section 8 authority will approve the inspection, then you have the obligation to wait. In other words, if two of them at the same time, then you have to wait until the Section 8 authority finish their investigation before you can make a decision.
So if the second tenant who's not Section 8 turn their application before, then you have no
Yeah.
obligation. But if the Section 8 turn in before the non-Section 8, then you do have an obligation to wait for the final
Yes.
result.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Thank you.
Mhm.
And Peter, do you recommend that agents leave a stack of applications on a counter in the property and give them to interested parties? Let them take one?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think it's a good idea.
and the applications, whatever you're asking for from one applicant to another needs to be the same.
Yes,
So
yes,
you
they
can
have to
type
be-
up a list of what the property owner is going to look for. And then
Yes.
it has to be the same.
Right.
all
That's
applicants.
for all applicants. Yes, you're right.
Any other questions on the topics or any questions off this topic?
And also recently I have a case in the Section 8 Section 8 applicants, and so the landlord require them to give a $5,000 security deposit. Actually, that's not really a security deposit. They said that is money to hold the property. So $5,000 to hold the property, and that can be applicable to the security deposit. Okay. Now, but now this Section 8 takes too long to investigate. So the tenant finally say that forget it. I don't need it anymore. I don't want to rent it. And then please give me back the $5,000. And now there's a dispute of whether the landlord should refund the $5,000 because there was a written agreement saying that that is a non-refundable. But the issue is now, if it is a security deposit, it cannot be totally non-refundable because the security deposit, the purpose of the security deposit is for cleaning fees, for doing some kind of maintenance or defects after you move out. So it's for different purpose. It's not for breach of contract or liquidated damage, and there is not a clear indication that the $5,000 is for the liquidated damage. So now that's a dispute. So what do you think that is going to be resolved? Anybody who want to venture their opinion?
I think it's gonna go back to the prospective tenant.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
If they insist, the landlord should I think return the $5,000 deposit because there's no clear understanding that this is of the liquidated damage, and the security deposit you cannot you cannot stipulate total non-refundable.
Herman asked in the chat box if, people that are renting rooms in their property, do Section 8 applicants, can they apply for those and use a Section 8 voucher for a room rental?
Yeah, you can, but you have to get approval from the Section 8. Most likely the Section 8 probably won't approve that, But if they do, fine, that's okay.
Any other questions on this topic or any other real estate topic that you'd like addressed?
Hello, Michelle. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Trish.
Yeah, I have a question. I have a buyer would like to buy like income property, 3 unit, and then they leave one. They will but the seller will deliver assistant tenant. After close escrow, can we evict tenant?
After escrow, then what?
After escrow close, can the new buyer evict tenant? Because right now, the tenant still in the property and the seller will deliver with tenant. But after close escrow, can the new buyer evict tenant? You know what I mean?
The new buyer wants to live in the property after close of escrow. However, there is a tenant in each unit. So
Yes.
you're asking if the new owner can evict one of the tenants for their occupancy.
Yes.
Because the owner wants to occupy one of them.
Yes, 3 units, but they will leave one and then rent
Yeah,
two.
yeah, there's just a cause to evict the tenant. One of them is that the family member wants to move into the
Yes.
to
One of the
the premises. Yeah, you can do that.
Mhm. Yeah. So we
But
should
you have
like,
to follow the proper eviction process.
we can give them like 2 months notice, right?
Huh?
We can give the tenant 2 month notice.
Notice,
like,
yeah, 60 days notice, yeah.
60 day notice,
Right, right.
Mhm. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Michelle.
Yes. Anybody want to share their own their experience in leasing or renting or the sales?
One thing I want to mention is if service animals are not pets. So if they ask about a service animal, it's not the same. It's a federal, law that's protected. Correct, Peter? They're
That's
not a
correct.
pet.
It's not a
So
pet.
we don't
yeah.
want to be
Service
confused.
service animal, you must accommodate.
Mhm.
Now, for the emotional support animal, then you have an option. You have to get the certification. Whether that's needed for your emotional health. It doesn't have to be from a medical professional, but it has to be from somebody who knows you and knows your disability and certified that support animal is vital or necessary for your mental health.
Thank you. Let me see if there's another question. Okay. I think that clears the chat box.
Do you have anything else to add, Michelle?
No, I just really believe in leaving applications along with the documentation that the property owner would be looking for on the counter. Allow interested parties to go and take one. I don't ever deny anybody an application because I'm there to gather the information. So we just put it there and let them take the application and let the property owner make the decisions.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Carol.
With the new rent control passed in Pasadena, there are some people that are suggesting to separate the parking as an option where they have to pay separately from the stated rental rate. What do you think about that? Is that a doable thing? Or does it make sense?
Well, I don't know. My first impression is that if you charge additional fees for the parking, it should be according to the guideline of the rent increase, you know, so you know, that's just a little, another pretext of the rent increase. So I would think that you have to follow the limit for the rent increase if you charge extra for parking. But that's my opinion. But you know, in order to ascertain whether it is what's true or not, you should call the Pasadena city.
The rental board, okay,
Yeah. Mhm.
okay, thank you.
Sure. Anything else? Well, if not, then this is that's it for today then. Anything to add, Michelle?
No, thank you all for coming and well, we always look forward to seeing you all. Have a good
Okay.
weekend.
See you next week. Bye-bye. Have a nice
Thank
week.
you.
Bye-bye.